of the many trains. This is a long one that you see out here. These mountains, aren't they gorgeous? Oh my gosh. It's another one of those long trains. By the way, the dust out here on the crossing is very serious. They have these signs all along the road. They repeat themselves. High dust area, stay buckled, pull off the road, turn off your lights. You don't want to leave your lights on because if the visibility is low, the car behind you may think that they need to follow your lights, your tail lights, and you're actually parked on the side of the road and they slam into you. So you pull off the road and turn off your lights. This is coming into our old neighborhood. I remember it's the top of this hill. Here we go. I think this is it. This is Cheyenne. And then you turn on Cheyenne, you make a left, and you come down here to Cody Circle, right here. Now our house is over there, but I'm going to go around the circle here. Come at our house from the top. Here it is. There it is, Lynn. There are the railroad ties I put in. The fence I put up. See the fence? I put that fence up, put that grass in. These railroad ties I put in years ago. Remember that? And this rock wall. I built this rock wall. See it? And that's where the old plum trees used to be in the side yard and the house. There it is. This is leading up the road to the Oregon Pass. Been up this road so many times in 50 years, 60 years. Used to be a 2-lane, I believe, but it's now a 4-lane with a center median. Going up to the very top. In the old days when I had a Volkswagen, I'd put it in the low gear and literally rock back and forth in my seat to try to get it to go faster. I just couldn't do it. The vehicle I have now does just fine, but in those days, man, it was rough. But here we go, coming up the Oregon Pass, up. These are the Oregon Mountains because the peaks over to my right here look like organ pipes. You know, musical pipes, not Oregon, but organ. And this is the pass called the Oregon Pass that leads over the top of these mountains and down into what is known as the Tularosa Basin. I mention it in my new novel, into the Tularosa Basin. This, however, is the road that goes up the mountain to the very top, crests, and then goes down to the Tularosa Basin. I'm going to show you in a minute the White Sands Missile Range, which is down below us here. But first, I'm going to get up to the top here. Look at how beautiful this is. These are the Oregon Mountains back behind me here, looking down into the Tularosa Basin. That's where I'm headed. Oh my gosh, that's beautiful. I said this is the Oregon Pass. This is actually called the San Augustine Pass. A lot of historic figures came through here. When I was in college, I took this road many times going home to Alamogordo. And going down this mountain, well, my Volkswagen would really pick up speed here. But this is so incredible. This whole valley is just beautiful. I'm gonna go to the bottom of this hill, make a left turn, and then a few miles further on, I'll go by White Sands Monument. It's a national monument, white gypsum that goes on for hundreds of square miles. Tourists can only see a portion of it when they go to visit it. But it was made a national monument by Theodore Roosevelt. You can believe that. And down here, at the bottom of this hill, is the entrance to White Sands military installation, where Lynn spent a number of youthful years living. Getting to the bottom of the hill, what I wanted to show you is look at the hundreds of miles of open desert. This is a missile range. They used to fire missiles over this this patch of desert for many years. Lots of cowboys rode through this pass where this highway is now. What I wanted to show you, which is really quite beautiful, is that if you look out on the desert landscape to the right here, you can see dust devils rising up from the desert floor. I spotted two of them a moment ago. I want to see if I can see them again. Coming down off the mountain now. Hang on. Here we go. And we're coming up on the entrance to White Sands Missile Range. Now looking off the desert here, you might see dust devils rising up. No, I don't see any right now. Just out in the middle of nowhere. There's some way off in the distance there. I don't know if you can see them. Now that's looking south, southeast towards El Paso. The dust devils are playing out. But right here is a place near and dear to my wife's heart. The missile range headquarters at White Sands military installation. This is the cutoff to go to that installation right here. This is the edge of the White Sands National Monument. The sands have been drifting slowly for thousands of years to the point where they've reached the edge of the highway here. In a moment we'll pass the entrance to the national park. This all started with a lake out in the middle of the basin out there. And the sands have been shifting and moving and clawing their way across the desert. Well, for a couple thousand years, some of the earliest footprints of humans are found out there in the basin. There it is. I'm coming up now on a border patrol checkpoint. This is the entrance to the national park, White Sands. Impressive, isn't it? All right, we're headed now for Holloman Air Force Base and then into Alamogordo, where I'll spend my first night on the road. In front of me there are the Sacramento Mountains. Climb up into them and you can get to Cloudcroft and the ski resort, and a little bit of rain falling up there. But those are the Sacramentos. I mentioned them prominently in my new novel, Saturday Night at the Yucca Drive-In. That's the new novel I haven't published it yet, but I mentioned Alamogordo quite a bit, and I mentioned the Sacramento Mountains, and there they are. Beautiful, aren't they? Anyway, I'm coming up now on the military installation, Holloman. It's over there to the left. And then I'll be going into Alamogordo, and I probably will go directly to the cemetery and visit with my family. And maybe tomorrow morning before I leave, I'll check in with them again.